Welcome. For more than 2 years, we have been bringing our community together to move U-46 schools forward through Unite U-46. This collaboration continues as we work together to map our future. Our goal is to create new attendance boundaries to provide the best opportunities for all of our students here in U-46.
As was discovered during our early Unite U-46 work in 2022, many of our buildings are aging, some more than 100 years old. These older school buildings simply can't meet the demands of today's teaching and learning, and maintaining them has become increasingly costly. Combined with this is the fact that some schools are facing declining enrollment while others are overcrowded. This imbalance limits our ability to provide all students with consistent access to opportunities and programs that are essential for their success. For over a year, hundreds of community members worked together to create a vision to move our schools forward through the initial phases of Unite U-46. As the plan shows, the community envisioned a future where every U-46 student has access to modern, safe, and inspiring learning environments. The community's overwhelming support of the bond referendum in 2023 provided funding to achieve this vision, which includes upgrading several of our schools and constructing new buildings to meet the needs of students now and for future generations. As part of the plan, some of our older buildings will be retired. Students from these schools will be moved to newer, more modern buildings equipped to provide better educational experiences and resources. Updated and newly built schools are being designed to be safe, accessible, and adaptable to new technology and changing educational needs. They will also have collaborative, flexible spaces that encourage both individual and group learning, and integration with nature creates calming, engaging environments. By adjusting boundaries to balance enrollment throughout our 55 schools, we can provide all students with similar access to resources, programs, and extracurricular activities, giving every student the opportunity to succeed.
We realize that the changes that come with adjusting boundaries are challenging for our families and students, especially as they adjust to new school environments and routines. And we are fully committed to making the transition as smooth as possible. Our top priority is ensuring that every student is well supported and feels secure and welcomed through each step of the process. This includes additional support from staff, resources for families, and clear communication to address any concerns along the way. By working together, we can ensure these boundary changes bring about a positive, lasting impact, fulfilling our shared goal of delivering the best possible education for all of our students now and in the future.
We recently underwent a shift from Hawk Hollow to Spring Trail. The transition to our new school was smooth, and we felt supported throughout the process. We had many opportunities to connect with our new school community before the transition. Both of our girls quickly formed new friendships and adapted seamlessly thanks to the support that we were given throughout this process.
The final step is adjusting our attendance boundaries to make sure we have the right number of students in all of our schools. So, what exactly is boundary planning? School boundary changes involved redrawing the lines that determine which homes go to which schools within a district. These boundaries essentially act as invisible borders around each school, helping the district organize where students will attend based on where they live. When a district decides to change boundaries, it means some of these lines will be redrawn, which may result in students attending different schools than they would have before, depending on where they live. Here in U-46, We have involved our community in this process from the start. Last year, parents, staff, and community members worked together to develop a set of planning criteria that were used to develop the different attendance boundaries you will review tonight. Everyone in the community was invited to be part of these discussions. We learned that the community prioritizes our students' distance and travel time to school, consistent feeder patterns, meaning that as often as possible, students attend elementary, middle, and high school with as many of the same students as possible, keeping communities and neighborhoods together at schools close to where students live, the ability of siblings to stay at the same school, and avoiding changing of students' attendance boundary multiple times, especially within 2 consecutive years. In addition to these priorities, we also looked at school capacity, or how many students a school should have based on the size of the building and enrollment trends. Developing these new boundaries is about more than maps and logistics. It is about serving our students the best we can. Our team took the planning parameters the community developed along with enrollment and school capacity data, while also considering factors such as declining birth rates and known new housing developments in our district. With this information, we began developing scenarios using a special software program designed for developing attendance boundaries. In the end, our goal is to provide the best possible learning environment for all of the nearly 35,000 U-46 students at our 55 buildings.
To begin, here's an overview of the proposed new map for the whole district. Obviously, at this view, it's kind of hard to look at, but this software is provided by a company called Barriger. They're from Vancouver, and they provide us lots of very direct support on predicting student enrollment, looking at births as come from the Illinois Department of Public Health, working in new developments, and so on. So as you can see, this is the map. Every purple dot that you see represents one or more students who are currently enrolled in the district. And the larger the dot, the more people who live at that address. Because it's kind of hard to look at right now, let's turn off the student dots so that we can see the map. So here you can see an overview of the entire district. Every colored section represents a different school. And as we'll look at specifically to the different network areas, there are changes to nearly every school. For this section, we focus on the east side of Elgin. So starting on the far east side of Elgin near Streamwood and Bartlett, if we look at Timber Trails will add this section from Glenbrook, and we'll give up this section south of Summit Street, which currently goes to Timber Trails, but we'll instead move to Hilltop, primarily because it's closer to Hilltop. Timber Trails will pick up the section around Burner Drive, which currently goes to Lincoln, but otherwise the central part of Timber Trails and Hoffman Estates stays at Timber Trails. For Hilltop, on the far east side of Elgin, stretching into Streamwood, the southeast section at Route 20 and 59 moves from Hilltop to Liberty and Bartlett. And then, as we said, for Timber Trails, the northwest section, which was Timber Trails, this wedge here, will move to Hilltop. If we go back to the north side up along Interstate 90, Lincoln will essentially trade some zones with Coleman. Right now, the boundary between Lincoln and Coleman runs along a street. Instead of doing that, we move the boundary to essentially the backyard of these houses, so that both sides of the street where the boundary currently is can go to the same school at Coleman. Same thing happens over here and down here to, again, in this section, avoid having the west side of the street go to a different elementary school than the east side of the street. Some of these neighborhoods, such as this one right here and over here, currently are assigned to Coleman or Lords Park. They instead will go to Lincoln. If we look at Coleman, the parts that were traded with Lincoln, some go to Coleman, some go to Lincoln. This southwest corner currently is assigned to Ron O'Neill. It instead will join the rest of its neighbors and attend Coleman. For McKinley, as a reminder, the plan is to build a new school over along the river to replace the current McKinley, which will have capacity for more students than the current McKinley. So we'll add this section around the Kimball Bridge, move them from Ron O'Neill to McKinley, and then also pick up some neighborhoods on the west side of Elgin. For Ron O'Neill, we pick up neighborhoods on the east side of Route 25 or Liberty Street, move those from Lords Park to Ron O'Neill. But other than that, most of O'Neill stays the same. Lords Park picks up sections south of Chicago Street. This neighborhood currently is assigned to Hilltop. They will switch to Lords Park. And this neighborhood is currently assigned to Huff. They also switch to Lords Park. Over here, the boundary between Channing and Lords Park make a similar change as we did up in the north between Coleman and Lincoln, where now the line does not split the street. So along this street, both the west side and the east side will attend Channing instead of one side going to one school and the other side going to the other school. Little neighborhood here, trades. And then finally, this wedge, currently assigned to Huff, will switch to Channing. As we know, a couple years ago, we closed Garfield School and reassigned those students between Huff and Channing. This map does not move those students. So if kids who went to Garfield and already had to switch schools, they don't have to switch again. For Huff, down here, we pick up quite a few new neighborhoods by giving up other neighborhoods towards the north. So Huff retains its central core right along Route 20. It then picks up the neighborhoods south of Route 20 around Route 25. The current boundary is this Bluff City Drive. So instead of splitting it there, we move farther south to the Metro tracks. So this neighborhood, they move from Clinton and from Nature Ridge up to Huff. Finally, Huff moves west of the river to pick up the neighborhoods around Lowry Elementary. This map shows the plan for all of the middle schools district-wide for all 8 schools. As we know, we'll be closing 2 existing middle schools, Abbott on the west side of Elgin and Ellis on the east side of Elgin. We're opening a new school in Bartlett where Hawk Hollow was. That school's boundaries were previously announced and do not change. They will be serving 7th graders starting next school year. For the new Rorson Road site, which is right next to Hilltop Elementary, that school will open in the future and will serve students primarily from Elgin, but also from Hoffman Estates. As we look at each section one at a time, the new Bartlett Middle School, as I said before, those boundaries were previously set and are not changing. Eastview, which currently serves essentially a north-south region and has given up about half of its students to the new Bartlett Middle School, will switch to a east-west orientation. Eastview will pick up current Horizon Elementary, Liberty, and most of Nature Ridge. The northern part of Eastview shifts farther north because of the changes to the Bartlett Elementary and Liberty Elementary zones. For Teft gives up Horizon over to Eastview and then picks up portions of Streamwood that are shifting to Sunnydale School. One positive change district-wide is the addition of dual language programming at Canton and Kenyon Woods. Right now, students who participate in the dual language program and are assigned to attend Canton or Kenyon have to go to different schools because those 2 schools currently do not have dual language programming. When these new boundaries take effect, dual language will be added to Canton and Kenyon Woods, so students in those zones no longer need to travel to a different school. So our Canton zone does not change very much, gives up a small amount to Teft and small amounts to Eastview, but otherwise maintains the same. The enrollment in Canton will increase significantly because they're now able to maintain or keep their dual language students. Moving westward, the new Elgin Middle School on Rorson Road will pick up most of Ellis and portions of Larson, particularly those in Northeast Elgin and in Hoffman Estates. Larson, which is here, maintains the parts around Dundee Avenue, and also picks up this section of downtown Elgin near the Kimball Bridge, which currently attends Kimball Middle School on the west side. So they'll stay on the east side at Larson. As we move westward, over here is Abbott School, which is closing. So the students at Abbott will split between Kimball on the north portion and Kenyon Woods on the southern portion. And moving south for Kenyon Woods, they give up Liberty Elementary and most of Nature Ridge, which will go to Eastview, and then they pick up Abbott, which is this zone in Elgin, and all of this section of South Elgin and far west Elgin, which are currently assigned to Abbott. They will be reassigned to Kenyon Woods. This map shows the high school boundaries district-wide, and in most regions, everything stays the same. The only change is in Wayne and Bartlett, the Wayne Elementary section, which is west of Route 59 and south of Stearns Road, currently attends South Elgin High School, but in this new map will attend Bartlett High School to align with the new Bartlett Middle School boundaries. This is the only change being proposed to the high school map.